Hey everybody, thanks so much for joining us right here on The Right View. Tonight we're joined by beauty content creator, founder of Make Makeup Great Again, and host of Liberty Before a Lipstick, Amanda Ensing. Amanda, welcome to the show. I want to get to the moment that kind of boosted you into the spotlight in a moment, but for people that don't know, you create content, like I just said, online. You started, I think, with a YouTube channel, and you do makeup tutorials, etc. Did you expect to gain such a following from reviewing makeup and beauty products and giving people these tutorials? Because you really kind of blew up.
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here and to chat. Yeah, I started in my college apartment. So really just learning how to do makeup and the love of makeup. And I felt like, okay, I want to experiment and show people how to use makeup. So I started in my college apartment filming tutorials. And I remember when I hit like 10 views and I was like, I've made it. Like, this is it. And then my 100 views, I'm like, this is going viral. And I was like sending it to all my friends and saying, watch this video, give me a view, back when this was like in 2012 and 13 when YouTube was just kind of growing. But I definitely didn't expect to. I think my first video that went viral was a contouring routine, and I thought the video was stupid. I almost didn't even post it. I was like, this is awful. And then it got 1 million views, and I was like, why am I gaining so many followers? And I was like, this video is blowing up. So yeah, definitely didn't expect it.
Well, contouring is very important. Although from the latest I've heard, it's like you shouldn't even be doing it anymore. Where do you stand on contouring right now?
Well, I do more natural. I like blush placement because blush can really change the face, but I have a big forehead, so I have to contour my forehead. I love to contour the nose. Like, you just got to do what you got to do. But yeah, the over contouring is not as popular anymore.
Yeah, I know. It's so interesting how makeup goes through phases to me, not to get off on a tangent solely on makeup, but it's like clothes, right? Like, you would think that if you're dealing with a face, you always want the face to look good, but you look back to like the 80s. I look back at photos of my mom and I'm like, what are we doing? It was like blue eyeliner and like, then you went through like the super thin eyebrows. Now, obviously, now we're doing the bigger brows. And I'm sure I'll look back on photos, or my kids, God bless them, will have to see photos of me from now, and they'll make so much fun of me one day. So interesting that makeup and fashion sort of go through cycles, but alas, here we are. So you did these tutorials, people started following you. You had millions of views, as you just said. And then you started getting partnerships with companies like Sephora. And I imagine maybe some of your competitors started getting a little jealous that you were getting a lot of attention and you had partnerships with big companies like that, and that you weren't a liberal, which Amanda, you never tried to hide that fact. And maybe you supported Donald Trump. Tell everybody what happened with this situation politically.
Yeah, so I focused solely on beauty content in the beginning. And then as my platform grew, people want to know, well, what do you eat? What do you do? Like more lifestyle type of content. So I've always been about inner beauty, but struggled like, how do I bring that to my platform? Makeup can be, so vain. So over the years, especially after 2020, I really I opened my eyes to so many things. And I've always had conservative values. I'm from Tennessee. I mean, there's so many things on my page. I'm like, how could you think I was a liberal? It just doesn't make any sense. I think it was kind of ignorance is bliss, where, well, as long as she doesn't say she's conservative, we'll allow it. That's how the beauty industry is. So my husband is very vocal of his support for Donald Trump. And like, he had a workout belt that's like, make makeup great, or make America great again. And he would like drama channel started posting it like Amanda's, they said boyfriend at the time, because I'm not too public about our relationship. I keep it very private, but they would be like, Amanda's man is wearing Make America Great Again. And my husband's from Brazil. So apparently he's racist. And I'm Latina, I'm Puerto Rican. So apparently I'm racist because I'm conservative. You know how it is. Mm-hmm. So people still thought that I was liberal and he was conservative. And I'm like, is what? So when I saw the state of our country, I was like, I just can't be quiet. And I started speaking up in love, truth and love. And the mob just came for me. And I'm like, is this America right now? And watching how cancel culture kept progressing and progressing, one thing I realized, if money wasn't involved, no one would have come for me. Even like with the Joe Rogan stuff happening, if there wasn't money involved, they would keep their mouth shut. They want to cancel us. They want to defund us. It's disgusting. It goes against the fabric of America. And the one thing I watched in my industry with liberals was they always bow. They apologize for anything and everything because they don't stand for anything. And it made them mad that I was at all these events in LA doing all this stuff, sitting at the same table as them, but I'm conservative. They're like, how did she get here? You know?
Wow.
And so it was so ugly to watch. And even like a lot of white liberals, which goes against their whole set of rules that they have, telling me how I should vote and how I should think and all of these things that I'm like, you guys realize I will never apologize. And the more they came for me, the louder I got. And it really hit a nerve for sure.
Wow. Well, I have to say, good for you for standing up for your values, for not caving in. Because look, it is so hard. And I don't think people who haven't gone through something like this cannot fully appreciate what it is like when it first starts to happen to you. Like, believe me, our family has been through the ringer. And look, I didn't grow up in a family like this. I grew up in a very normal family, middle-class family from North Carolina. And I can tell you that when it all first started happening and people were writing stories about me that weren't true and saying really awful things about me that anyone who's ever met me could tell you wasn't true, it is so hard. So I just want to say kudos to you for standing your ground, because it is easier just to cower and cave in and say, oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, I mean, who would ever vote for Donald Trump? Meanwhile, over half the country probably did. But what was that like for you? Because I imagine people probably surprised you, either friends or acquaintances, people that you worked with professionally. Did people surprise you either positively or negatively?
Yeah, I mean, whenever I started speaking out, cancel culture really shows you who you are and what you're made of. And there were a lot of people that were, breaking bread with me, that I've done things with, spent so much time with, and all of a sudden, oh, you're racist. Wait, what? And you couldn't even have conversations with some people. Like the echo chamber and the indoctrination, it was so pushed by the media that I started to fully understand what was happening in our country. And there's so much more at stake than you unfollowing me on Instagram. So there were people that had been in my life for years that we never talked about politics. And when they were conservative, I'm like, that surprised me. And it was a good surprise. And, seeing so many people come out with the hatred, I was like, where is this manufactured emotion coming from? And I saw in the industry before I spoke about politics, I mean, people would post, like, I remember someone that used to be a friend in the industry posting, if you vote for Donald Trump before election, you need to dump the person that you're dating if they vote for Donald Trump. And meanwhile, I knew this person and they know zero about politics, zero, nothing. It's always like that. They know nothing about politics. Yeah. And then the moment I speak up, it's, oh, stick to makeup. And it's like, stick to makeup. That's how we got to where we are now, because no one knows anything. They keep you dumb and uneducated so that they're like, Congress is like kids running around doing whatever they want with policy, and you listen to whatever CNN says. So a lot of it surprised me, but it made me so much stronger. And you really have to dig your heels in. And if anything, it made me even more convicted in my beliefs, that I was going in the right way. Yeah. And I really saw the power of the people come to me when cancel culture happened, and I knew God would turn it around, all of the evil that the enemy meant, but I never knew it would happen the way it did. And I found a community of people that's like, okay, I'm not crazy. We're all the same. And I do believe we are the majority. So the beauty industry is just so toxic and only liberal only. They claim we were born this way and be yourself. But it's only if you think like them.
Right.
It's empower women only if you sound like them. Mm-hmm. And so I found like this big gap of toxicity in the industry. And I'm like, okay, we're going to change this. We're going to create our own industry.
Good for you. I mean, I think it's so amazing in so many ways. And you're right. I think for a lot of us, it almost reaffirmed, for me at least, that what I was doing was the right thing, because you know what? They don't fight against you if what you're doing doesn't matter. When you're doing something that matters and you're saying something that threatens them and their agenda and their plan, that's when they come after you, Amanda. And that's why they came after you, because look, you had such a huge voice and you had such a broad reach with what you did, and they knew how influential someone like you would be, especially to a younger generation, girls that are tuning in, wanting to get makeup tips, wanting to see what you do day to day, how you do certain things. And the fact that you were not falling in line with what they had set out for their agenda was very threatening to them. And I'm glad you feel the way that you do. By the way, you're saying all these people have no idea what they're talking about. You're right, they don't. But you actually, I read, have a bachelor's degree from the University of Tennessee in political science. So you actually do know what you're talking about. It's sort of amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you know that you wanted to, I mean, were you ever involved in politics before? Was it something you were always interested in? Why did you choose that? Did you expect to get political at some point in your life?
Yeah, so I mean, I was getting ready for law school. That's why I did political science and business administration. So I doubled down and I was like, okay, well, if I don't go to law school, at least I'll have my major or my business degree to fall back on. And it was my junior year of college, I started doing YouTube and makeup. And I was never passionate about this, but my mom had always pushed into me, like, go to school, get education. So I was on that path and I was like, well, maybe I can be a lawyer for like a beauty company. And so I started doing YouTube and stuff. And honestly, I learned more about politics outside of college than in college. Yeah. Looking back on it, like if I could have gone back, I wouldn't have, because there's such a wealth of information online. Like, I learned the most about our government and our system on my own in independent research than in 4 years of an expensive education.
That's so sad, by the way, that's the case. I mean, what does that tell you, by the way, about where our country is headed, where we are right now? How much true knowledge people might have or not have about our government, our country, the way our system works. I mean, that's really frightening, by the way.
It is. I mean, I feel like everything I was being pushed looking back was liberal indoctrination.
Yeah,
but
of course.
I didn't understand it then. You know, I was just like, oh, okay. And I remember the more I would learn, I focused on international foreign policy because I hated our government learning about it. Like, it was something that was so toxic to me when I was learning about our local government, how the system worked. It seemed so inefficient. So I focused on international foreign policy, you know. But at the time, I was like, when I graduated, I said, I want to stay as far away from politics as possible. So personally, I got out of politics for a few years. I was doing beauty and doing makeup, and politics wasn't even on my radar. And it's funny because my now husband, when we started dating, he said, if Donald Trump wins the election, because we wanted him to win, this was in 2016, he's like, if he wins, you're going to be my girlfriend. And I was like, I don't know. And then he won. I was like, fine. Like, on inauguration, we like made it official. And, you know, my husband coming from Brazil, I see our country in such a different light because I've taken it for granted living here and going with him through, you know, the citizenship process and all of these things. And my husband is very blunt. He's Latino. It's very blunt. And that's what he loved about Trump, was he tells us the truth and people hate it. And it's very much a Latino culture till we tell you that hard truth, and people don't often accept it. And so when Trump came into office, he opened up our eyes to so much. He kind of pulled back the curtain and we're like, wait a second. And it was like releasing the floodgate of truth and all these things that we didn't really see for a long time. So when 2020 happened, I said, I've got to speak up. And I felt this fire that God was giving me and showing me so much. And I said, I'm going to speak the truth. And if you don't like it, you can unfollow. Your opinion is your problem. And the thing in, you know, the beauty industry and the youth is there's not a lot of spine. People cry that they're oppressed, but they repeat what the mainstream says. And I'm like, but you're silencing us, but then you're oppressed and your values are everywhere. So who's really the minority here? So yeah, in a nutshell.
Wow. Well, I imagine your husband, coming from South America, must have some thoughts on socialism. Obviously, that's been a big failure in many places in South America. Does he feel like what we see happening now, does it frighten him where this country is headed? Does it frighten you? I mean, I'm sure you guys must talk about it.
Absolutely. I mean, he left Brazil for the American dream. When you think it's not the Brazilian dream, it's not the Ireland dream, it's not the Puerto Rican dream, like it's the American dream for a reason. And that's why he came here. And when his parents actually came to visit a few years ago, they couldn't believe the things, even like Uber and Postmates, like little things. They're like, wow, like it's abundance and there's so much opportunity here. And he loves Bolsonaro, their president, loves him. He calls him the Brazilian Trump. He loves him. And he got a lot of hate for supporting Trump and supporting Bolsonaro. And what's funny is that they also have a similar situation there. Like, they're trying to get Lula in, who is a Marxist, who just got out of jail for destroying and ripping off their country. And now all the celebrities are pushing it, like Biden with Lula. It's like, are you insane?
Unbelievable.
And they keep them uneducated. And you just see this like indoctrination of just being fed a narrative and drinking the Kool-Aid. But if they would take 5 seconds to kind of disconnect, they would see it. So it's very similar in Brazil. And, you know, watching everything happen, like my husband's like, I don't want this to turn into, like, I left Brazil for a reason. I left for a dream. And then you see a lot of Americans here, I always say we're spoiled because we don't know. Like, I've traveled to so many countries around the world, and every time I'm like, oh, it's fun, but I'm so glad to be back. And a lot of people, their scope is Twitter. They've never been anywhere. Like, okay, if you want this, move to China. No one's stopping you. Move to Cuba. They won't.
Of course they won't. Well, and you're right. The people that make these broad statements about how awful America is, and they think that we're, such an oppressive country and all of the ridiculous things that they say about America, they've never been, Amanda, anywhere else. They've never ventured out. I get the same feeling, by the way, when I travel outside of America. It is so great to know that I get to come back home, and this is home, and this is where we are just so fortunate to call, ours, the United States of America. Can I just ask you really quick, though, your husband becoming, is he a U.S. citizen now?
He's about to be a citizen.
Let me ask you what he's had to go through, because a lot of people don't appreciate the process. I can tell you, my cousin married a guy from Canada, and what they had to go through, what they had to pay, everything to become a legal citizen of this country, basically because he wanted to vote for my father-in-law. Now, he missed the boat in 2016 and 2020. Let's see if he gets another chance to vote for him. I won't say any more than that, but tell people what it's like to go through this process, because some people think you could just walk over the southern border and you become an American. It's a lot more involved with that if you actually do it the legal way.
Correct. Whenever we met when we lived in LA, and living in LA, I met so many people from different countries that were just wanting to even just get a green card, just be a citizen, like have their chance here. Because if you walk over the southern border, like we know millions of people are doing now, you can't really do you want to do it the right way, and you can't do all of the things and accomplish all the things you would as if you're doing it the right way. And so he spent thousands of dollars, and now after we're married, we spent thousands of dollars in legal fees and immigration, and then things getting filed, and then you have to, it's so much work just to be sitting there. And it's like, okay, well, they're behind, so it could take a year, it could take 18 months. And for him, watching now as, all these people are coming and just walking over, and then even seeing how, the stimulus checks, wanting to give them $1,500+ and just paying them for doing it the wrong way, it infuriates him. And we have a lot of friends that have come here from other countries doing it the right way, and they're furious because you spend so much money, you do things the right way, just for an administration to say, oh, come on over, like we'll pay you to be here, don't worry about doing anything. We saw even like in California and places, now we're seeing like New York, where they're going to allow non-citizens to vote. My husband would have loved to have voted for Donald Trump.
It's so crazy, Amanda. First of all, they're incentivizing people to come here the wrong way. They're incentivizing people to come here illegally. Basically, it seems like they want as many people to illegally come into America as possible. And then the big plan, as far as what they've done now for, I don't even know how many different sessions of Congress, HR 1, House Resolution 1, every single year for several years running now, has been basically a bill to allow non-citizens to vote, to grant citizenship to anybody who came here and said they needed to seek asylum or walked over the border or whatever it is. So I guess the big plan is get all these people in, make them American citizens and allow them to vote. And then I guess the Democrats just in perpetuity will rule the country and we'll be under their thumb forever. But fortunately, people have stood up against that. It has not passed because it's totally outrageous. But, when you hear about what people like your husband has had to go through, and you guys as a couple, the amount of money you spend, the laborious process you have to go through, then to see what happens on our southern border, it's so infuriating. It's so outrageous. It's not right on every possible level. So I look forward. Is there a plan? Is there a time frame for him to officially become a citizen?
He's already applied. I think we did it last fall, but as they're always behind. So it's always like,
the Biden administration is not on top of this? What?
I know what? So it's like, it was 3 months, but now it's looking like 12 to 16 months. So it's literally just a waiting game. But you're right. It's a very taxing process. Like he was at the point, a couple years ago when we started this process, like he wanted to live his life. He wanted to do real estate and all these things. And it's like, you can't unless you go through this process. And he never wanted to do it the wrong way. He actually came here because he was playing soccer in college. And then that's when he was like, okay, I want to stay here. And he started going through all of the process from visas to green card, et cetera, et cetera. But I see America in such a different light now, because my mom coming from Puerto Rico, like they're citizens. So I never experienced that before. But him, like learning through him and his friends, we take it so much for granted. He would always say, like, all my friends that were born here never do anything with their life. And I'm just dying for my chance to be able to have a business and start that, because that's why, it's the American dream. And when all this stuff's happening with Biden administration, he's like, so am I going to get a refund for all the money that I paid? Because you know what I mean? Like, he's like, the government's never helped me. If anything, you have to have sponsors when you do this whole process that make a certain amount of money. Yeah. So it's crazy. It's a slap in the face.
Crazy. Well, I want to get back to you and the beauty stuff, because we were talking about how you had all these people come out against you when you basically spoke up and said you were conservative and you supported Donald Trump. So you had all these leaning beauty influencers basically hoping to see you fail, doing, it seems like, whatever they could to see you fail. And then you're coming out now, you're going to show them all with your own makeup brand called Make Makeup Great Again. How did this happen? Because I love it and I love the name.
Yeah, well, I have some sneak peeks. I have some exclusive stuff. Oh. So Make Makeup Great Again was a movement that I started literally I think I was talking to my Telegram with some of the girls, because I have it, and I was like, this is actually really funny. Let's just make a sweatshirt. We made sweatshirts and hats, and we still have stuff. Like, I make little merch and cute stuff. I made it as a movement just for anyone that's feeling like they're being silent, censored, like all of us, even if you're not conservative, but you're feeling like you're not being heard and you just want to be free. So I started just as something casual. I didn't expect it to pick up the way that it did, but that's actually not going to be the name of my beauty brand. My beauty brand name hasn't been released yet. A lot of people think it's Make Makeup Great Again, but it's not my name, and it may or may not be launching this spring. So I have been working on my beauty brand for a couple of years now, and, working on it, I was just like waiting for God's timing, and all this cancel culture happened. I'm like, God literally laid in front of my lap at like the perfect story, which is what he wanted to happen. And with everything happening in the beauty industry, and since what happened to me, so many influencers are getting canceled. And so we've kind of all banded together, but I've been working on my brand to my brand's not just for conservatives, but I am a conservative brand, and I'll be bold and vocal about it and talking about it, because those are my values. In a space where it's only acceptable to be liberal, we need conservative brands with our values. We need those. We're all looking for those alternatives in every vertical to be like, where can I spend my money and shop? So Make Makeup Great Again was awesome, and it really showed me how many people are standing with us. It was incredible.
That's so great. I love that you're saying your products are not just for conservatives, because this is the interesting thing, Amanda, that I feel like happens. I feel like conservatives and especially like Trump supporters are welcoming to everyone. If you want to come to a Trump rally, but you're a Democrat, please come to a Trump rally. You know what? You will be welcomed with open arms. We want you there. We want you to hear what our guy has to say. We want you to embrace you. You want people of all different, political sides to be part of your beauty brand. But it's not the same way on the other side. It's almost like, I guarantee you, I won't name what makeup lines I use, because God forbid, these people would probably tell Sephora never to sell me anything again. But they probably would be upset if I started posting online and like showing the actual makeup that I use. Isn't it so crazy? Like, what is this? What happened to our country that this is where we are right now? It's wild.
It's crazy, because I noticed in the beauty industry, like there'll be I've seen big brands that are in Sephora posts like for Planned Parenthood and abortion and all these, like they say, why you should have kept your mouth shut. Like the liberals will tell me, you should have kept your mouth shut. And I'm like, but your mouth is always open.
Yeah. You get to say everything you want. And you're not allowed to say anything.
So it was crazy to me. And like when I started creating my brand, it was so important that my products were made in the US. So like my products are made here. They're cruelty free. They're clean, amazing formulas. I've been reviewing products for almost a decade, and I've seen everything. And so I wanted to encompass, a brand that actually had great products and wasn't just, usually it's a bunch of really rich guys sitting there just telling the lab, hey, make me some formulas. Like, I wanted great products. And as I watch, a lot of these brands are overrated. The beauty industry is very much like you see like with Nike and all of these other just woke companies where they're overrated, but that's all we've ever had.
Right.
And it's this wave of new brands that are coming, and no one's going to see us coming. No one's going to see all of these conservative and Christian created brands bringing something in a perspective that's never been seen, that's run by us. Like I could have started my brand years ago, but I didn't want investors. I wanted to be able to do it on my own, know every inch of the process. Same with my YouTube. I've done my own filming, editing, managing. I've done every place so I could understand the process. And we're about hard work. Like Americans, we work hard and we want to enjoy the fruits of our labor. So it's funny to me when I started seeing the hypocrisy of like the beauty, because apparently conservatives don't wear makeup. And I'm like, you realize we literally spend the most money on makeup.
That's
like,
true. Isn't it like this stereotype of like the kind of like granola liberal that's like no makeup, that doesn't shave her armpits, that like, right? Like, aren't conservative women, aren't we the ones that kind of like get dressed up and actually are using the most makeup? Wouldn't I assume that? But I digress.
It's like I played the Julia Roberts in Pretty Woman. She was like, oh, you work on commission? You wouldn't wait on me?
Yeah.
Big mistake. Huge. That's what I always think about. I'm like, you have, like, even with Sephora, they had no idea the can of worms they were opening and who they were pissing off because of them discriminating on conservatives and Christians. Like, it's kind of like the news media. They feel like they're the majority, but they're just the loudest. But over the last couple of years, like that sleeping giant has been rumbling, and we're just tired of it. But until you touch their pocket, they don't get it. Like in the beauty industry, people, again, don't really have a lot of values, to be honest, when it comes to people that are loud. They'll say whatever can get them the money and the views and the allegiance from the brands because they want all these expensive things. And so they want to quickly cut off whatever doesn't fall in line. It's like I saw this meme of a liberal and a conservative and someone in the middle, and the liberal like pushed the person to the conservative side and they fell down. The conservative's like, are you okay? And the liberal's like, why are you helping? Why are you on the side of violence? It's like, you pushed so many people over here. So and it's just the division is just insane. And it's just time for people to stand up. Like, I'm not going to bow. It's time for us to stand up.
You know what? I think that there are so many people out there who feel like they haven't been able to speak out, who feel like they've been silenced. They couldn't share the way they feel, wearing something of yours that like the Make Makeup Great Again stuff. I feel like people love those things because it's almost like a nod, like we got it. Like, okay, now I know where you stand. It's not a Trump sticker. It's not like, it's not like I'm part of the Republican Party, I'm a conservative sticker. It's like a nod to all of us that get it out there. Like I see the Blue Lives Matter stickers on people's cars and I'm like, oh, well, I know where you stand, right? Like, isn't that, it's sort of like a funny thing. Everybody wants to represent who they are. A lot of people are scared to go that extra mile and actually put like the hardcore, like a Trump sticker or something on their car, but they will wear one of your like shirts or some item that says Make Makeup Great Again.
Yeah, and I think that in the conservative space, like conservative women have incredible makeup and fashion, and a lot of conservative people don't speak up. So I'm like, I'm here to show you how amazing we are at beauty and fashion so that people feel like they can have the courage to speak out too. I think people underestimate how much they can influence by just speaking out and realizing how many people will flock to you. Like, Make America Great Again is not a Trump cult. Make America Great Again is a symbol of freedom. Yeah. And so when you see in Canada, you see Make Canada Great Again, like you will never see Build Back Better in any country or anything Obama said. Like you just won't see it. There's never that impact. Trump stood for freedom. And so when you see that Make Brazil Great and all of these things, and we use it in every industry, it's more of like, we need to make these spaces literally great again. They're terrible. They're swampy. They're toxic. So it's more of like showing you like, hey, wear something cute. Like I have this shirt that's like anti-Biden social club that I wear from a friend that made. I get compliments everywhere. And
I'm sure.
You know what I mean? If I see someone wearing Let's Go Brandon, I'm like, there's so many of us you don't realize until you just wear it. But yeah.
I saw a guy where like I went on a bike ride. This is a couple months ago. I live in Florida. There was a guy, I'm going to say 75, maybe 80 years old, walking like out on a walk in the morning wearing a Let's Go Brandon t-shirt. I was like, this guy is so real. I was so there for it. It literally made my whole morning to see that. Absolutely loved it. Good for this gentleman. If you're watching, sir, thank you very much. Where can people find you, Amanda? Because you really do great stuff on Instagram and on all of your outlets. Where can people find you?
Yeah, so on all of my platforms, YouTube and Instagram, it's Amanda Ensing. TikTok, I use a little bit. My podcast is Liberty Before Lipstick, so that's kind of like my venting platform for sure, where I like to talk about all the craziness happening. My whole thing is beauty and brain. So like on YouTube, I'll do where I do my makeup, but talk about immigration, politics, faith, anything, because women and people, like, the beauty industry needs to wake up. People need to know, and it's just not being shown. So my name on everything, and then Liberty Before Lipstick podcast, and then makeupgreatagain.com is my merch and stuff.
I love it. So this is odd, and we won't get sidetracked on this. My Instagram page and my husband's Instagram page, we talked about this the other night, has not changed our number of users in over a year.
Yep.
Is yours the same?
So once I started speaking up, I saw that Instagram would purge like just a few more than I would gain. And I'm like, this isn't possible. And when the Sephora thing happened, I think I gained like 100,000 followers in like a day or so. And it was like literally so close to going up. And then all of a sudden it started going down. And I'm like, I know you guys are messing with us because everything's about perception.
Yeah.
So yeah, they do that. Everyone that speaks out, it's very difficult. We know what they're doing.
Yeah, Instagram, we know what you're doing. It's not possible that none of our pages have changed.
But all the other engagement goes up. Everything goes up. They won't change the follower. There was a girl I saw post that she had this issue. So she started a new Instagram and she's already beat her last Instagram because it was. And I'm like, what?
This is crazy. It's crazy. But you know what, Amanda? People are fed up. People we're really, I feel like, coming to a place where the silent majority, and you see it happening with the truckers in Canada, people are done with it. People are fed up. They're going to start speaking out in whatever way they can. And I encourage it wholeheartedly because enough is enough. You have scandals going on right now, like showing that the Clinton campaign paid to spy on our campaign. They paid to spy on the president of the United States, yet no media coverage on any of the liberal outlets. It is outrageous, but people are catching on. They know that something is feeling off. And I mean, God, come on, Instagram, like just let people follow us. Stop it. It's like crazy. It's ridiculous. Amanda, I want to say thank you for coming on the show. Thanks for, your bold way that you speak up and speak out. We're so excited about the makeup. Let us know when that's going to launch because believe me, you'll have a customer right here. I can't wait.
I'll send it to you. I'll send you a whole PR box and you can try it. Let me know. Oh, it's going to be
amazing. Amazing. Well, we look forward to it. Keep up the great work. And thank you so much for coming on with us today. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. So much fun.
All right. Well, thank you to Amanda and everybody at home as always. Thanks for joining us here on The Right View. We'll see you back here next time.